So I well remember the night of the 19th of December 1981, although it's 40 years ago now. There was a terrible storm raging in Cornwall. And on that fateful night, down in Mousehole in the west of Cornwall, the Penlee Lifeboat was launched to the aid of a freighter whose engines had failed and was drifting in mighty seas. And the coxswain, Trevelyan Richards, was so fearful that they might not return that he only allowed one member of any family to crew the lifeboat that night. So they set sail into waves 60 foot tall, winds blowing at 100 miles an hour, and they fought their way to the Union Star. And they managed to rescue 4 members of the crew. But then the lifeboat, the tiny lifeboat, was washed right across the decks of the ship. But despite that, they went back time and time again to try and rescue the other members. And then at some point during that night, the radio went dead. And when dawn broke the next morning, all that was sound of the lifeboat, the Solomon Browne, was matchwood on the shore. There were no survivors. In all my life, I don't think I've ever felt more proud to be a Cornishman than I did the next morning when I learned what had happened and saw the way that the Cornish community wrapped their arms around those bereaved families. So I dedicate this song to the crew of the RNLI lifeboat, the Solomon Browne. It's called This Is My Cornwall. I've stood on Cape Cornwall in the sun's evening glow, on Churn Hill at Newlyn, to watch the fishing fleets go, watch the sheave wheels at Givor as they spun around, and heard the men singing as they go underground, and no one'll ever move me from this land until the Lord calls me to sit at his hand. For this is my Eden, and I'm not alone. For this is my Cornwall, and this is my home. Well, I've left childish footsteps in the soft sand and sand, and I've chased the maids there, all giggly and tanned, and I stood on the cliff top in a westerly blow, and heard the waves thunder on the rocks far below, and no one'll ever move me from this land until the Lord calls me to sit at his hand. For this is my Eden, and I'm not alone. For this is my Cornwall, and this is my home. First thing in the morning on Chapel Cornbury, to gaze at the sillies in the blue far away. For this is my Cornwall, and I'll tell you why. Because I was born here, and here I shall die, and no one'll ever move me from this land until the Lord calls me to sit at his hand. For this is my Eden, and I'm not alone. For this is my Cornwall, and this is my home. For this is my Cornwall, and this is my home. remembering Coxon Trevelyan Richards, Stephen Madron, Nigel Brockman, John Blewett, Charlie Greenall, Kevin Smith, Barry Torrey and Gary Wallace.